Okay, so it's Erev Rosh Hashanah. My thoughts on the various declarations by the UK, Australia, and Canada that appear to be thin on detail, recognition of the Palestinian state, what appeared to be, an attempt to, as Macron would put it, to avoid everyone becoming Hamas. I guess it's aimed at boosting, you could say, the Fatah faction, who are equally despicable in my book. The same organization which has a pay-for-slay policy, where if you actually engage with members of Fatah, their problem isn't Zionists, it's the Jews, the Jews, the Jews. So I also want to just respond to a parallel social media feed that has been filling up my media last night, which appeared to be attempts to distinguish between Zionists and Jews, right? Like the Zionists aren't Jewish and they're not Jews because certain people have chosen to make these distinctions. I'm the recipient of a legal decision handed down by a South African court of law that fails to make such distinctions and lumps all Jews into one pot. We're a monolithic, homogenic entity where I have no individual right to dissent, for instance, from religion. People might be aware of a man by the name of Thomas Jefferson, who shortly after the United States Congress enacted freedom of religion, various acts enabling freedom of religion in that country, wrote a series of letters, and one of his letters he stated that he refused to bow before the altar of intolerance and admit the right of inquiry into religion. For me, that is a line that people should not cross. The minute you admit the right of inquiry into religious issues, you're admitting what essentially is an inquisition of one's identity. And whenever you engage any of these people who are making these distinctions, who are pro the Palestinian side, you notice an interesting phenomenon, which is that these Palestinian talking points are attempts to negate the identity and the existence of the other side. The lies that are, it's an endless litany of lies, blood libels, canards against the Jewish people, false claims that the Jews stole the promised land, that the State of Israel is merely a colonial project, it has nothing to do with refugees from the Middle East and North Africa, nothing to do with refugees from Eastern Europe. My own family arrived in South Africa as refugees from the Pale of Settlement in Mother Russia. That's my Jewish family, where Jews were not allowed to own land in the empire, could only settle in certain parts of that empire. My Afrikaner family, some very similar story, ran away from Catholic France as Protestants and arrived. The Huguenots arrived in this country as religious refugees looking for a better future. I find this scrutiny of identity without any bars on the admission of these interrogations despicable. For the Commonwealth to be issuing statements on Erev Rosh Hashanah echoes the exact timing of the 7th of October, anniversary of the Yom Kippur War, where Operation Al-Aqsa was launched as a jihad against the Jewish state on a religious holiday. And of course, we've just seen last week the inversion of reality, this attempt to cast Israel as the aggressor, and that Israel has attacked Gaza on the 7th of October. That is according to a United Nations report. You can read or listen to my other vlog that I made pointing this out. So just to wrap it up here, I keep returning to the issues to do with the West Bank, where people refuse to acknowledge under the Jordanian occupation from 1948 to 1967, the Jewish quarter was destroyed. The West Bank was ethnically cleansed of Jews. And that was just under the Jordanian occupation, a country which has the exact same flag as the people waving the Pan-Arab flag around at Palestinian rallies. It was the British who gave that flag to the Arabs in order to gain a sense of Arab unity during World War I, when they were faced with the prospect of their adversaries, the Ottoman Empire. They were doing everything they can to undermine the Ottomans. And thus Britain is the one that is ultimately to blame for the current situation. It was Britain which created a state very similar to Rhodesia when they created this Mandate Palestine entity with currency and passports, where the currency was in Hebrew and Arabic, and similarly the passports. And many people point to maps of that entity as a evidence of the existence of Palestine. Should Rhodesians be allowed to go back to Zimbabwe if they refuse to acknowledge the existence of Zimbabwe and refuse to participate in the democratic state of Zimbabwe? Should the former state of Rhodesia be reenacted and to replace Zimbabwe, being if it is the fact that entity is not a democratic entity? It would be a white supremacist state undermining the black democracy majority, the new state of Zimbabwe. Similarly, should the state of Palestine be allowed to undermine the state of Israel? If the Palestinians do not have any secular agenda, when there's nothing on the table that resembles any constitutional dispensation that would be the equivalent or analogous to what we have as a country in South Africa. South Africa has a We the People constitution that enshrines freedom of religion. And until such time as we actually see such documents on the table, I think it is premature to be talking about a Palestinian state that might occupy the same space where you would have, obviously, there would be a Jewish population in that state. Are we talking about an entity that will exclude Jews on the basis of their religion or the basis of their ethnicity? I don't see any guarantees on the table. The only people who are talking about these rainbow ideas are the supporters of that cause, who are not the actual emissaries of that movement. Why is it that there are no Jews in any leadership positions in Fatah or Hamas, for that matter? Both of these organizations are sponsors of terrorism and sponsors of jihad against the Jews. And so I feel under threat from many quarters by people who are not able to sit down in a tolerant, open conversation and an honest dialogue about the issues, real issues that affect Jewish identity. Thank you so much. If anybody wants to take the cudgels up for whatever cause, you're more than welcome to sit down and break bread.